This is Calm AF, a podcast for humans who are hard on themselves. A podcast for the overthinkers, people pleasers, perfectionists, and overachievers. I'm Kristen Finch, and I'm going to teach you how to quiet that incessant negative chatter in your head. Because you know what a person with a calm mind can do? Anything they want. Grab your coffee, gorgeous soul, because today's the day you get Calm AF. Hello, gorgeous souls. I cannot believe we are already on part 8 of this Calm AF Life series. It's out of 9. We have one more. I just have to say the magic has been so real. I love when shit like this happens. So while I was creating the curriculum outline for the Calm AF Life course, I came up with this Calm AF Life series kind of as a way to take you, my podcast listeners, through what the course would entail. So intro to the Calm AF system, the nervous system, the feelings, the thoughts, the energy, the future self, and then bringing it all together to manifest this Calm AF life using this Calm AF manifestation method. And it perfectly lined up with the end of the year. Like, this wasn't on purpose, actually. The last 2 episodes being about manifesting goals wasn't on purpose. It just worked out this way. That means it's magic. Because obviously this is the time of the year when we're all talking about goals, right? This is the time of the year where you can't go anywhere. You can't hear anything without being bombarded with like, new year, new you. Or, what's your word this year? How are you going to change your life this year? Right? Or the messages that we get all the time of like, hey, TikTok, you finally going to change your life this year? Is this the year you're going to do it? I have a vivid memory. I can actually remember like how it felt, I can't remember exactly what I was wearing, but I remember almost everything about this, of a New Year's Eve long, long ago. I was in my mom and dad's room. They were having a party. And so I was in their bedroom, watching MTV and they had this like tiny little TV, you had, before remote controls, you had to like turn the dial on the cable box. I was watching MTV, the MTV countdown of the top 100 videos of the year. And I remember being thoroughly annoyed that the number 1 video was Sledgehammer. I was so like, it was just one of those like, oh, come on moments of my life, because I really thought it should be like Madonna. So anyway, but I was sitting on the bed and I'm watching the countdown, and I remember vividly, and I don't remember if this is the first time I ever did New Year's resolutions, but it's the first one I remember. I was sitting on my parents' bed with this brand new notebook, because you have to do it in a new notebook, writing up my New Year's resolutions for the year. And I remember they were like, exercise and eat healthy and get good grades, and probably something about softball or music, because those were the things I was interested in. Now, because I vividly remember the number 1 video was Sledgehammer, I was able to look up what year that was. It was 1986. Okay. I was just barely 10 years old. I was in 5th grade, which means 2022, this marks 36 years of me setting New Year's resolutions. I'm like, I'm only 35. How am I doing this for 36 years? So 36 years I have been setting New Year's resolutions. And for 25 of those 36 years, my New Year's resolutions lasted from approximately December 31st to approximately January 3rd. Now, let's not even get started on the fact that I vividly remember putting exercise and eat healthy on my New Year's resolutions, because 5th grade was the year. This is just a little side story. 5th grade was the year that one of my little best friends during the first week of school had a bunch of us girls stand in a line. And she was like, stand here and put your legs together. I've told this story before. And I just thought, I'm like, oh, we must be playing a game. And she started like going one by one and telling us what was wrong with our bodies, right? And I remember her coming to me and saying like, Your legs are almost perfect, Kristen. You should have 3 spaces, one between your feet and your calves, one between your calves and your knees, and one between your knees and your thighs. And she was like, Kristen, you have the bottom 2, but you don't have that space you're supposed to have between your knee and your thighs. So 1986 was the year I learned about thigh gaps, which it wasn't called then, right? It was probably 20 years before we called it thigh gaps, but nevertheless, 1986 was the first year I remember learning that my body was wrong because I didn't have a space between my knees and my thighs. That's just a little side story. That's not what today's episode is about. The point is that I have 36 years of experience in writing New Year's resolutions. 25 of those years, I did not achieve a single one. Or I shouldn't say that. Maybe I did. I may have achieved 1 or 2 resolutions throughout my life, but it was through sheer will. And I remember I never felt better. Like, it wasn't like I said it and then I never thought about it again. There was always something more. And I was always looking at my life as this one big problem to solve, right? On December 31st, for 25 years in a row, I looked at myself as a project that needed to be fixed so I could finally feel good about myself and enjoy my life. And somehow, even if I did get that fixed, there was still more to do. Kind of like your to-do list, thinking that you'll rest when everything is done, right? The biggest lie we tell ourselves is everything ever done on your to-do list? No, there's always more. So I'm sure you've heard this before. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. 25 years, my friends, I spent doing New Year's resolutions and setting goals the same way over and over and over again, hoping for a different result, hoping this will be the time that I can stick with it. This will be the time that I follow through and achieve the goals so I can finally feel good about myself. And then 11 years ago, I sat down with my brand new notebook, of course, ready to write those resolutions like I'd always done. And it was the end of one of the hardest years I'd ever had. I had spent most of that year in pure survival mode, just trying to get through the days. My dad was sick and ended up dying. Me and my kids and Dave, we were sick all winter long. Like literally, we maybe had like a handful of days that one of us wasn't very sick. And not just like we had colds, like it was the flu. And then it was, the stomach flu. And then it was the bronchitis. And then it was pneumonia. It was a tough year. This was right before Dave's book was about to be published. So he was gone a lot. And then we were traveling a ton, doing interviews and photo shoots, which was obviously triggering my body image bullshit. I was working part-time as a speech pathologist. My kids were little and I didn't want to miss anything, but it felt like all of this plus working on myself was impossible. And when I sat there with my notebook 11 years ago, the thought of adding more shit to my plate felt awful. But at the same time, I was like, but obviously I have to do something different. Something has to change so I can stop feeling so awful. I just kept thinking that, like, I feel awful. I need to change so I don't feel awful, but the thought of doing the work to change feels awful. And it was just one of those moments I was like, what do I do? I just felt so stuck. And I remember after all of these I feel awful thoughts, the next thought I had was, well, how do I want to feel instead? Like, if I don't know what to do about this, what do I want to feel instead? And the answer was very clear. It was just like, I want to feel better. I just wanted to feel better. Instead of heavy and tired and exhausted and overwhelmed and sad and resentful, I wanted to feel better. I wanted to feel light. I wanted to feel free. I wanted to feel calm. And that little shift, just asking myself, instead of how do I change all of the things that feel awful, and that shift into, well, what do you want? It changed the way I thought about my goals. And this was the beginning of this whole process, this manifestation method, the Calm AF the Calm AF manifestation method. So instead of resolutions, which is defined as a firm decision to do or not do something, I switched it to resolutions, right? Which I defined as a firm decision to follow my soul's lead instead of setting these like horrible goals. Like I stopped looking at my goals as the things that would make me feel good about myself if I actually achieved them. And I turned it upside down. I started with only focusing on feeling good. I focused there first about myself in my current state of being, right? I had to start with, if nothing ever changed, if I knew that for the rest of my life, nothing was ever going to change, did I still want to feel like shit? Or could I come to a place of like, okay, this is just what it is. And I knew that that's where I needed to be because my life wasn't changing by beating myself up or telling myself how awful it was. So I started by saying, this is what's happening. This is what it is. This is the state of my house. This is the size of my body. This is how much money is in my bank account. And instead of desperate urgency fueling my goals, I switched it to worthiness and self-kindness as the fuel. And lo and behold, the life that I wanted, the way I wanted to feel in my life started manifesting without me like striving, without me hustling, without me beating myself up and trying to be really rigid and strict with myself, right? I started noticing before I lost the 20 pounds or whatever it was, I felt confident. Before the house was decluttered, I felt good enough. Before all the issues in my marriage were resolved, I chose connection. I started by feeling the way I wanted to feel before the changes I wanted to change happened. And this thing happened, right? The reason why we're all afraid of changing, like the fuel, the thing that fuels you and your goals, the reason why we're afraid to change it is because we're like, listen, if I'm not hard on myself, I'm not beating myself up, I'm definitely going to become lazy and I'm just going to lay on the couch all day long, every day. No. As it turned out, self-kindness and worthiness fueling my goals did not make me lazy. All that rigid planning and structure I thought I needed wasn't what I needed to change my external world, to reach my goals. I needed to change how I felt so that I could change how I showed up. When you're tending to the entire Calm AF system, all the things that we've talked about in the whole series, your mind, your body, your bubble, when you're choosing calm and free over bullying and rigidity, your external world changes as a byproduct of your internal world changing. And that's what I learned 11 years ago because I couldn't do it anymore. It felt amazing to be able to love myself to my goals instead of loathe myself to my goals. And knowing that I could feel worthy and calm and inner peace and confident, even if nothing ever changed on the outside, that freedom, the freedom to just be like, you know what? I'm good. That unlocked everything for me. Hating yourself to change doesn't work. I tried it for 25 years. It didn't work once. Now that I've switched to this Calm AF manifestation method, loving yourself to your goals, it works. It works because the reason why you want what you think you want is because it's going to make you feel a certain way. And if you decide to start there, do things that make you feel a certain way, it's going to change everything for you. And this is what I teach my clients now. After doing it myself and tweaking it every year, like, ooh, you know what might even make this even simpler is this, right? This is what I teach my clients. This is what I'm going to be teaching next week in the Calm AF Life group. We're going to be doing this whole thing together. But I stopped linking my worthiness to my external world. And instead of telling myself I wasn't allowed to rest until my entire house was decluttered, I chose self-kindness, compassion, and worthiness as the fuel. And if you would not believe that my house got decluttered so much faster, right? All of the goals just happened. There was so much more ease and so much more light and so much more fun when I wasn't shaming myself to try and make the changes. Now, listen, I do believe in having goals right? Just not the way that you're used to having goals. The reason why is because I feel like it feels like going on a road trip, being like, I'm going to definitely go on a road trip, but you're like, I have no idea where I'm going. I think you need to have goals. However, if your experience with goals has been, I love setting them, but I never achieve them, or I set them and then I torture myself to achieve them, or I don't even set them anymore. What's the point? I never achieve them. I've given up. They just make me feel bad. If any of those three are you, this Calm AF manifestation method is for you. I create it because I was all three of those for 25 years. Okay. So the Calm AF manifestation method is something that changes a little bit every year because I'm always evaluating. I don't do it just once a year. I do it all the time. Like every single month, I am always looking back at my goals. I'm looking at what worked and what didn't work so I can tweak the process. Now, next week, in our final episode of this Calm AF series, I'm going to teach you the actual steps of this method so that you can do it on your own. Like I said before, if you're in Calm AF Life, we will be doing this together next week in our workshop, December 29th. If you can't be there live, it will be recorded. No big deal. And we have like a gazillion times to meet. So you'll get all your questions answered. That won't be an issue. That's going to be next week. I'm going to take you through the steps. Today, I'm going to be sharing the principles of this Calm AF manifestation method so that you're all set up to set goals for 2023 that feel amazing to work towards, that you will feel amazing while you are working towards, while you're manifesting them. So let's get into those principles. First, in the Calm AF manifestation method, the starting point is not unworthiness so that I can feel worthy. The starting point where you set your goals from is enoughness. It's worthiness. Instead of working from the belief, I suck until I achieve this goal, you turn it around. Because when you believe you're enough right now, when you're looking to manifest from a place of worthiness, then working on goals feels fun. And achieving the goals just feels like sprinkles on the cupcake, not the actual cupcake. It's just like a bonus. Right now, when you think you can't feel good about yourself until you lose weight, so you feel bad about yourself while you're trying to lose weight, right? That is how most people are setting goals. That's how I did it for 25 years, right? And don't even try me with that. Oh, I'm not trying to lose weight because I'm just trying to feel better, right? Not so I can be bullshit. This is not my first rodeo, my dear. You are not the first person to try to convince yourself that you're doing it for your health, not your worthiness. I'm not saying you can't lose weight. I'm not saying you can't want to lose weight. That is not the point. The point is, if it never changed, could you still feel worthy? And you start taking care of your body from that place, from your worthiness. Your internal feeling state does not change because your external circumstances change. I know that's what we've been led to believe, but ask anyone who has struggled and beat themselves up to hit their goal weight if they actually feel better once they get there. Ask anyone who suddenly comes into more money or is making more money now if they actually feel like they can relax now. If you think you need to change to feel better, but you don't actually feel better while you create the change, you're gonna be bummed when you get there. Just warning you in case you didn't already know that. The second principle is that Calm AF goals are created from your soul, not from your brain. And they're creating from your future self, not from your current and your past self. Right? What does your soul want? What does your future self say? Your soul doesn't give a shit about the number on the scale or the clutter on the table. All it wants is for you to align with its natural state, which is Calm AF. It's free. It's joy. The third principle, Calm AF goals are about feelings, not actions. All the time, I want you to hear this, all the time that you are spending trying to figure out how you're going to change these things, how you're going to reach these goals, it's a waste of time. And I wish more than anything that I could just tap my magic wand on your cute little forehead so you would just believe me when I say that, right? That it's a waste of time. Focusing on how is a waste of time. You are going to figure it out. Now, I'm not saying that we need no structure or no plan, but I promise you that your rigid plan isn't going to work long term. And you will definitely have a day when you cannot take the torture of following this rigid plan anymore and you will quit. because you are not a robot, not because you're a problem, because you're not a robot, right? That strict morning routine that you think is going to change your life is not always what is going to be what you need that is in support of your future self goals. It's just not. There are some days when the thing that you are going to need is to just take some time off. Okay. The fourth principle is that our actions are decided by and taken from our future self-guidance, not our current or past self-guidance. Okay? We can't create something new from our past or our current brains. If we want to create something new, we have to get into that future self mindset, which is what we talked about the last 2 episodes. This is why in Calm AF Life, in the program, the Lifetime Access Program, every single day you are reminded to align with your future self and your why and look at your goals. And twice a month, we meet to realign with your future self to see, oh, what's changed? What's working? What am I going to do now? Right? I stopped repeating the pattern of setting goals on the 31st and being done within days and then getting to the next year and setting the same resolutions by doing this, revisiting my goals every month, aligning with my why every day, setting intentions every day. That is how you change. That is how you become your future self, not by thinking like I have to follow this rigid plan. It's by showing up every day and saying, what does my future self say about today? What actions does my future self think would be in support of what I'm working towards today? The fifth principle is the Calm AF manifesting method is above all else the way to actually enjoy your life while you're manifesting. We lighten up, we have fun, we enjoy the process because the process is your life, right? We don't just like, if you're thinking about the road trip, right? We're not just like never stopping and just not getting gas and never stopping for a break or anything until we get there because we won't let ourselves enjoy the journey until we get there. We have to enjoy the journey because that's what your life is. It's made up of all the little days between where you are now and where you're headed. It's all those moments. Okay? All right, gorgeous soul. Here's the deal. The goal setting workshop, this Calm AF manifestation method, I'm going to be teaching this in Calm AF Life next Thursday, December 29th at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. You can do the rest of the time zones. Now, this is only available this time inside of Calm AF Life. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing it because when I teach people this and they don't have any way of kind of keeping on track and they don't have accountability, it's going to make them feel worse about themselves. I've had so many people say, oh, I did it. I loved it so much. And then I forgot all about it. Yes, I'm not going to do that to you anymore. This is where we can have this accountability in Calm AF Life. So Calm AF Life enrollment will be reopening next week. If you don't get my emails, well, even if you do get my emails, you want to make sure you are on the wait list because when the doors open next week, after Christmas, after Hanukkah, I will be emailing a promo code for special pricing that will only be available for 3 days. Okay, the 29th through the 1st. There will be special pricing. You will get that by getting my emails. So the link to the waitlist is in the show notes, or you can go to kristenfinch.com/calmaflife. All right, gorgeous souls. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays. I love you so, so very much. I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful to be part of your journey in whatever way I am. I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to Calm AF. If you love this podcast, you will love Calm AF Life. It's basically a live version of this podcast, taking everything we talk about here, and instead of just consuming it, we apply it. So Calm AF isn't something you aspire to be, it becomes who you are. There's a course teaching you the foundational components of the Calm AF life, including nervous system regulation, feeling your feelings, boundaries, and mindset shifts. Then, since brains love to get new information, but we aren't really wired to change, there's the accountability aspect of the program. Daily, weekly, and monthly reminders to keep showing up for the Calm AF life you're creating. And once you're in, you are in. You get lifetime access to all of it for as long as the program exists. Go to KristenFinch.com/callmeiflife to join today.